beyond that. So xa unyalo omnye ubishop wabona ubishop into kokuba akho nto anoyitshintsha ngoba uyasikhwaza sisabele. I-ofisi kaMr Zepe isebenzele le diocese yaseKhahlamba engakhange ayibhile inkonzo. Kodwa hayi Mr Zepe registrar sithumelela istatement sikyaliko sikubhatale for i-services zakho. Sihlala kwi-meetings sacrificing his own time, his family time, ngoba sisabele ubizo lokokuba senze ubulungisa kubantu bakaThixo. Yiloo nto ke uyayazi unkosikazi wakhe besihamba sibheke koRhawutini siye ngoJanuary especially sihlale pha i4 days siye kwi-Convention conference apho sibona ba lo mthetho une-loophole, let us amend it. Lona umthetho awulunganga kusithi xa sibizwa ngubishop siba sim-advise abona ba hayi ingathi ihash mhlamba ke kumakhelwane ukhomna athi hayi zabuza kumthura hayi ndithule kumthura lokuhlele ezihlekela nje ke athi yonke into nobe serious uyithetha light though is serious but ibe meaningful. Hayi ke kuzobuzwa kuye ke umthura ndithi makhelwane ufowunelwe uzokathi yes I checked but there's no change. I-canon is there, it's clear makhelwane. So ubishop ndiyabulela kuba ndikezela ithuba kuba pheni ndime apha ngoba uthe xa ngixele bakaphilanga ndaya kubishop ngenyawo ndayomchazela bishop umuntu wakho ndixelelwa into bakaphilanga. Andikwazanga ke kuphumela ndimfowunela nanjengoko bekuthiwa i-visits are not allowed but telephones. I phoned, the phone was off, ndaqomba mandimnikeze ithuba not knowing ukugoduka kwam ndizobe andiphinde ndimbone umakhelwane. Family yakwaZepe, uZepe idiocese yaseKhahlamba as the registrar of this diocese akayihlasisanga. Naxa besiphuma siyomela iKhahlamba kwi-province eGauteng ebeba there esupporta ngoba ndiyakhumbula kuthe xa kuwa lo mphanga ndinowam ndafumana i-calls suka ko-advocate esiseva nabo kula Canon Law Council bebuza ngalento yehlileyo. Akanihlazisanga i-sacrifice yakhe was worth it a while. God could not come on his own, but he sent and uses us to do his job, to see that justice is done for his people, in his people on earth. Thank you very much. May Makhelwana's soul, I remember when there is a diocesan event, we used to sit in this first row. It would be labeled Chancellor, Registrar, and Administrator. We would sit there. I remember the day we were licensed by Bishop Mazwi, and the Holy Spirit, indeed, hey, Makhelwane, this service is so solemn. That's as to Bishop Masas chat is. Why you got chat again go? Magavelas chat is Bishop. He was like a big brother to me. So overprotective that you cannot date anyone. I remember this particular incident when I am going to stand down, just to make you laugh, wipe those tears. He found me in a restaurant in the evening, and there was one of our colleagues also there. He came from, his team was playing, but it's work. So he comes, he says he's looking for someone who lost the phone, who left the phone in the location. Then he goes, he orders at the bar. I'm sitting at the chair at the bar, but facing backwards at the customers. It was the restaurant of my late friend. And he says, who brings umakhelwane wam up at this time? Umakhelwane wam akazihambi ezindawo. Uyabona ndiyaphunga ndezelwe iti. Makhelwane, ayikho iti kwakho, ayikuswakile. Ndithi maka hey, ndiqoma ndi-embarrassed. Makhelwane, ayikho nayiswekile neti kwakho. Ndithi mna ngayibi makhelwane ndithula ndijonge phansi. Athi, kubana sisumakhelwane lapha. ndibona imoto akho moto ezingacacanga zowuma kwamakhelwane apho tshini rha namakhelwane umandi suka wabetha etafuleni. What? I was so embarrassed. That is my friend, my bigger brother. We were like just beyond being colleagues. We organized everything. I know, I heard that people were looking out for me because xa kuwe into enje, it is me and him who would stand together and organize memorial service, funeral. Now we were just having conversation with him. Lastly, kubhubhe inkosikazi kaMr Mshunqane. Uthi makhelwane, uyayazi galo makhelwane basiyima sobabini lento. Makhelwane bazofunda nini, bazosilandela nini ababantu. Ndithi makhelwane ndazi xa simkile uba kuzothiwani. Ndicela wethu nizimisele ngoba ngoku wayena nami ndibe nomphanga. Kodwa makubhekwe phambili, niqine ngale mini kaMthura, nithathe iBayton bethunana. Enkosi kakhulu.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Reverend Ngwendu. You know, we read in the Bible when Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? And he said, well, you can summarize it this way, that the greatest one is love God with everything. But he said the second one is like it, love your neighbor and as yourself. But the interpretation of that is be a neighbor. And what we're hearing here is a testimony of somebody who became a neighbor wherever he found himself, who truly lived as a neighbor, who looked after others. Well, Mthura was also part of another community, the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, people who, if they're on your side, you will love them. If they're not, then you have a problem with them. And to speak from that community, Mr. Zolile Sonchi, please will you come?
Mandizibulisele kule mva kwemini. Ndibulise kuwe Bishop nebandla. Ukuyisummarize bayibeka kamandi abanye bathi nqanga nentsiba zayo. Okukhumshayo uyakuthi ke all protocol observed. Ndithunyiwe kulombutho ubuchazwa ngutata ophethe le nkqubo xa siyiteketisa sithi NADEL, which is the National Democratic Lawyers of South Africa. Njengoko ugxa wethu ongasekhoyo uMthuthuzeli uMthura ebelilungu lethu. I must say, it's that moment when one becomes speechless. It's also a moment to be tearful a bit, because lendoda kudala samba nayo lendlela. Just a bit to detour. Much as people expect me to say Ndimazi from the legal fraternity, I know him way back when we were at UWC. So for me, it brings back those memories where we shared quite a lot of things. And coincidentally, his friends are also my friends. We're all at varsity together. They are here today. So that friendship is a friendship that is at least 30 years. So abanye benu, not saying to the old generation, were not even born by then. Now coming to what I was sent by the national office to come and say on behalf of NADEL, I must say, firstly, that he was also instrumental in me becoming a member of NADEL. After I registered my articles here in Queenstown, my former boss or principal, Utatu Milil, said, "Apha, we belong to the Nadel family." I said, "No, ndiyayazi kaloku Nadel, because kaloku I come from Losok, which was mentioned also in the obituary. And more so to say, the same people who were instrumental in the formation of that organization, coincidentally, it was his former principal, abantu abamaziyo bathi ngikutqaqe, abangamaziyo, it's the late Mr. Klaas. So together with the giants of the time, the late Utatu Silas Nganunu, they formed that organization, which now today plays a pivotal role in many aspects of our community. It also plays a pivotal role in the appointment of judges. I'm sure some of you might have heard some comments in the past week relating to judges. We're talking with the group to say there has to be a debate on that issue, so that we can balance whatever rights people have vis-a-vis what is considered to be an attack on the judiciary. Now we're talking of a practitioner here. We are talking of a lawyer. We are talking of a teacher. Ungala, much as he had Zepe and Company, which is incorporated, but operated as a single practitioner. His career spanning over a period of 25 years, but he produced a lot of attorneys. When I thought to myself to say, who in my mind has managed to do what Ungala has done, I still do not have that answer. I lost count. I think when I was counting, I was at around 30, but I understand the number of attorneys that he produced is more than that. Now, you tell me which single practitioner who has experience of 25 years has produced that. I'm inclined to say there is no one to equal that. For others, it takes 50 years to do so, which is double. Hence, I agree with what Mr. Pule said, that whatever he did, there was quality in it as a teacher, And if you were to look at the caliber of the attorneys that he produced, it's quite an excellent one. And they've got excellent track records as well. Now, talking about the person of Unkala as a practitioner, first and foremost, when I was preparing to come here, I said to myself, for once, I must try to wear a suit. Because Mtura, whenever he went to court, he was always in a suit. And this is what he had to say. He says, you know, you are building a brand, so when people look at you, they must associate you with that brand that you are building. So for starters, you can't be seen at court in jeans or saggy pants, so you have to look sharp, because there is no second chance to make a first impression. Talking about him with regard to courts, he is known to be courteous. He is known to be a respectful practitioner. Even at times when rulings go against you and you are tempted to say, I'm sorry to use this word, Bishop, to hell with you, presiding officer. But he knew exactly what he was trained and how he should conduct himself. And a sign of respect, he will say, as the court pleases, Your Worship. Even if the presiding officer is saying some things that may sometimes be insulting, you need to accept that. That's the kind of person he was. I've taken some thoughts from various practitioners and how they described him. One says he was a very brilliant lawyer. One said he was a frank and easygoing practitioner. Another said he was a legend. Another one said he was like a magnet, because whenever Mtura would go to court, people would want to come closer to him and associate with him. Batete naye. Another one said he was like a shepherd. He was involved in various activities. Law Circle 13 was one of the statutory bodies that we had. Mtura chaired that for quite some time. I'm sure abantu abaninzi bazuphelo phepha when it comes to meeting communities and assisting them. But he managed to bring I-Train, which was to give free legal advice to people. He also did that with the events that would be held, because he was a good organizer. He would organize activities and say, let us put the communities also in that program and have a desk there, so that if there's anyone who requires legal advice, they can get such free legal advice. We are sakulandele ke umntu ayotshe ofisini yakhe. In closing, to say, because Nadel is based on human rights, he espoused the ethos of it. Ubuntu was in him. That's why he was practicing what he was practicing, which would be what we say poverty law, because we are looking at the community members. Unlike those in big towns, they would be getting corporate clients and all of that. That is big money. So his contribution to this community is unequal. So, in closing, let me further say to the family, you are not the only ones who have lost. We have also lost a good man, a good friend, a generous somebody who would sometimes go into his pocket just to fulfill what he promised or had organized to be done. Despite not having funding, he would fund the same. Bongala, Kozikali, abasekhaya, uMakhatle, sithi akuhlanga lungehlanga. Kunje kwinhlanga zonke. May his beautiful soul rest in peace. I thank you.
Thank you. Magnet, a shepherd, brilliant lawyer. The list continues, and the mind is boggled by just how much he was able to accomplish with the generosity of his spirit and the direction that he lived his life in the direction of other people. Next up, we have from 2 communities followed by his friends. So we've got 3 categories left, and then we are going to close this section of the program. And from the political community, we're going to call upon Ms. Noncedo Zonke to come and address us.
Mandibulele kakhulu kwikwayara. In observing the protocol of the church, let me greet the bishop and the dean and all the protocol that goes with that. Ndibulise inkonzo yonke, the community of Chrisani entirely, knowing that this was a trailblazer. He was not only serving Queenstown and Nqamakwe as a home, but he was trailblazing and making sure that he would go and serve also to the end of this region, which is in the Middleburg area. Ndiyanibulisa nonke community, the family ka Comrade uZepe, beside sicingela ligama lakhe lento ka Zepe, because it was clear that within the family ebelithwele igama le family, so there was no other name that we're calling him as comrades. Besimbiza Comrade Zepe. Family yakhe, ingakumbi inkosikazi yakhe, of which I know ukuthi when we were dealing with his office, uComrade uZepe, ebengenayo lento okuthiwa ngu-WhatsApp, which is a quicker communication xa nifuna ukucommunicate izinto, but he will tell you ukuthi my wife WhatsApp is working. So we were communicating nenkosikazi yakhe aphinda akunqanda athi ingathi uyenza igqwetha inkosikazi yam. But that was the communication that we would have with him. Mandibulele elithuba ndisitsho ukuthi the regional secretary of the ANC, when he heard that ndizawuthetha apha, wandicela wandinika mandate to say whatever that you will be saying, please say to the family of Zepe, thank you so much. Because Comrade Zepe was one of the lawyers or attorneys that was fighting for the rights of our people. Ebe representer even the person that he knows ukuthi he cannot afford service yakhe, a person who's unemployed. I'm represented whether it is a civil case, whether it's labor cases that goes with it. Sizokrosa indlela, myself and him, which I'm not gonna belong. Xa ndideploywa kula masipala wase Mthuthuzeli. And when I get to the office of the executive mayor, I find out that umasipala wethu is indicted with cases that are not completed. And at that time, the municipality was using a law firm, yabantu abamhlophe. I said to the municipal manager, I will describe only what I need as a firm that must assist us. We need a firm that will transform the institution itself when we are dealing with these cases. Experienced person dedicated, and when they were doing their procurement, babuya be appointed Mr. Zepe. I was so excited. What was exciting me is to know that he is one person who's responsible, reliable, very experienced, ongaleqi imali, but he will make sure that the case is concluded. In my life, ndisebenze naye in different areas, and mazi apho wake waluza case khona. Very brilliant. Now there are 3 cases umasipala wethu bejongene nazo, and I know the entire South Africa is having challenges on those cases. And I was not surprised when he could beat them. One, our municipalities are indicted with the issue of ESCOM bills that are so high. And it goes to an extent where ESCOM would want to put off the lights for the community. Ndacho kuye ndathi ngala sizawubona kuwe ukuthi le case, how are you going to handle it? I know many municipalities that have lost those cases. And that case with us, it was there for 2 years. We're paying councils every month when they are supposed to be representing us. Mr. Zepe took only 2 weeks, and he promised me, I will take 2 weeks to this case and I will close it. And he did 2 things for the community of Mthuthuzeli. One, the interdict against ESCOM, so that there will be no lights off, because the community is paying. Therefore, you can't penalize those that are paying. If you have a debt with the municipality, ESCOM, deal with the municipality. And we want that. There were outages, zange siphinde sizifumane ngenxa ka Mr. Zepe. Siyambulele. The landfill site cases, even the attorneys that are here, you can go to any municipality. Those are difficult cases. I was winner not. sizowubulela thina kwi-contribution ka-Mr. Zepe. I know in most municipalities kunzima ukugxotha aba bantu kuthiwa zii-senior officials. They are highly protected by law. But we managed Mr. Zepe because there were things that were ill that were happening through our institution. Sizobulela ifamily yakhe emkhulise in such a way that abe ngumuntu reliable in the society. Umuntu ophansi, ophila nabantu befundile bengafundanga. Umuntu osoloko ephakathi kwabo, who represents them ngamaxesha onke. We are saying thank you to this comrade. Ebe representa even amalungu agxothwayo apha kwi-African National Congress. Sicaphuke ke xa sifumanisa into yokuba ufuna ukuncedisa nale lawyer ye-ANC. Ayincedisa athi, oh hayi baqasha umuntu owikhi bethu. Ndixoleleni ngoba ngumbutho omkhulu lo. Siyabulela kakhulu. To the wife and kids, ndiyayazi le ndlela nizayihamba. I've been there for 12 years. Izawuhamba i-healing ifike ngexesha layo. And it does not need to be rushed. Izawuzenzekela ngexesha ekufuneka yenzeke ngayo. Siyabulela si-African National Congress ngeli qabane lilele apha. Enkosi.
Thank you so much. It is always amazing when you hear about these things, that in the obituary we heard that he multiplied himself, that there are over 40 people at least who learned something from him and who have been told to us or commended to us as excellent or quality people. And so there is hope for our municipalities because of what Mtura and the impact that he did. We have two more items on our agenda, then we will close after that. I'm going to call someone from the sporting community, and then we will have two of his friends. But for now, Mr. Manzi, will you please come forward?
Mandithathe lithuba ndizibulisele kubathanjiswa benkosi, ubhishophi webandla nabo bonke abamngqongileyo kule ndawo, usapho lwakwaNkala olugobe iminqonqo kule ndawo, umzi waseNgqamakho uphela, umzi wakuKomani, usapho lweBreakers, umbutho uNkala ebewuthanda kakhulu. Ngale mini enkulu ndivumeleni ndithi bhotani. Ndima kule ndawo ndizokuthetha ngopress. Thina besimbiza upress phaya eklabhini kwiBreakers. Ufika upress ngexesha elinzima kwiBreakers, ixesha lokuswela. Sithi sihleli ngelo xesha upresident ebekhona ibinguMr Van nankuya kwela cala. Mr Vanda wayesiphethe kakuhle kakhulu naye ngelakhe ixesha, naye ethatha kubhuti Livuyo Mbhebe, may his soul rest in peace. Wathi akufika uNkala ngelo xesha, uNkala simlandelwa ngu-honorable councillor uAndile Kantsi. Wathi ndizawuza naye mna uNkala, waza naye. Akufika uNkala wasebenza kakuhle noMr Vanda kakhulu. Ekusebenzeni kwabo noMr Vanda kakhulu kwaye kwenzeka into okokuba kuthi umfana olapha kwiBreakers acanda ilwandle abheke eWest German e-Essex ngenxa kaMr Vanda owayesebenzisana noMr Ngala. Sihambe iBreakers mosiyaziwa, iBreakers yaziwa naseGermany, it's not only apha eQueenstown, because ibirepresentiwe ngumnci uManyathelo, bazawumazi kabanye ngenxa kaMr Vanda ngosebenza noMr Ngala. uMr Vanda uMr Ngala ekuthatheni kwakhe intambo kuMr Vanda uyithathe iBayton ngezandla ezingenamkhiqi. Ukungena kwethu kwakhe uMr Ngala usisiphene ebesayazi ndingangena, ebesayazi athi okay uNkala uyishiyile laa nto. Siyabulela sisipheni ngethuba usinike lona nathi ngopress umthura. Umthura ufika kwiBreakers, ufika wayihombisa iBreakers umthura. Niyababona abafana bahle, itracksuit yokuqala yesibini le ikhona enye itracksuit yakwaMetropolitan nebags. Aba bafana ngaba bafana bebedlalela le club kaMr Zepe, badlalela le club. Akagqibelisanga uMr Zepe together with uLamla Manil as the director of the club and the engine of the club uMzwandile Ngondo made his strides zokuba aba bafana bebe bahle babenje. It's a pity namhlanje abanye baphuma emisebenzini kuba bebene babonile izolo babe benjani na ngeningqina lento ndiyithethayo. Waza uMr Zepe nale tracksuit kwalotho, nguye uMr Ngondo uMzwandile nguLamla uManil uphumelela uhlathi. Baba bahle baba banje abafana. Uba uyajonga naphaya kwizilights kukho itracksuit phaya gold and black, ine-gold shares la tracksuit, ayikanxitywa, isentsha, isuka kwaHollywood Bets. Ngenxa yemizamo kaMr Zepe athe wasiphathela the former All Boy yaseQueens, former wing yeSpringbok uKhayalethu Malotana. Ebesithi xa zeklabhini uMr Zepe aze nabantu abazosebenzela iklabhu, wasiphathela uKhaya Malotana. Wasigqibelisa ke ngoku uMr Zepe ngokusiphathela oocoach basekomani ababezovusa iBreakers ngexesha lobunzima. uMr Nutse, bhuti Nutse uNgqulu wayekwacoach iboard, waza naye uprofessor uBhutzola Ibe, waza naye ngaphambili uMr Hlathi uPhumi, weza naye ngaphambili. Wathi ndifuna abantu abayaziyo iBreakers apho isuka khona. Bayithatha iBreakers bayibeka kule ndawo ndithetha nje nawe, kule ndawo sisekwiSuper 14 apha kwi-Eastern Cape, siyenye yeetimu ezinkulu apha eNorthern Region. We are the only club edlala kwiSuper League, iBreakers, ngenxa yemizamo kaMr Zepe. uMr Zepe ke ebenento ebeyithanda, ndikhumbula ngenye imini uthi masidibane apha etown. Ebesithi ke xa ndibiza umanejara ndithi press, athi kukho into ekufuneka siyenzile, qha kufuneka ndidibane noPheni. Badibane ke noSisipheni, ekudibaneni kwabo aphinde andifowunele athi qokelela iiplayers zinxibe ezifumanekayo, zakuxela xa ufika apha eofisini bakwenzeka ntoni na. Athi masifike ngo-2, xa sifika ngo-2 sifike sendimbona uSihlalo, ndizawunxamisisa uMhlali ngaphambili. Athi masithathe ezi mpahla sozinika amaxhegwazana phaa kuMamumfenqe ehospice iingubo. Ebengumntu onesisa uMr Zepe. Apha sime nentombazana ngenxa kaMr Zepe ecoacha ibhoda ladies irugby unwabisa Nxathu ngenxa kaMr Zepe. Imisebenzi kaMr Zepe ke besithi ke xa gqibezela ekunika into athi asinayo igolide nesilivere. Take the little thing we have. Athi kwezi ntwana xa zibethwa ahlabele ingoma athi likhulu eli tyala lifanelwe ijaji ziphakamise ezi ntwana. Bafana bam, ukhona omnye uMr Zepe uThixo azasibonelela ngayo. Enkosi, ndiyabulela.
Thank you, Mr. Manzi and the team. What a powerful reflection. Mtura was truly a man for justice, not only in the courts, but in people's life, righting the wrongs that we see in our community. Thank you so much for sharing that aspect of him. We're going to hear lastly, excuse me, but not least, from his friends. And you can gather from what you've heard today, there's a long list, but there was only hear from two. Mr. Speedo Machoba and Dr. K. Nzuguma, will you please come and address us?
Thank you very much, Program Director. Kunzima umamela umuntu ethetha ilanga xa litshona, kodwa masithemba noko soshwankathela. Let me take the opportunity to greet you, Your Grace, as well as the Dean, the entire clergy. May I also take the opportunity to greet the Zepe family, Umama uNomihla Zepe, Upheni Zepe, Mrs. Zepe. Also, let me take the opportunity to greet the traditional leaders that are here today. Also, let me greet the Pule family who are here in large numbers from Bushbuck Ridge in Mpumalanga, as well as in Gauteng. Also, to greet the Mthuthuzeli family that are here, that are so important as part of this gathering. The legal fraternity, Ompondo Slanjwa Namakwala. May I also, lastly, greet ladies and gentlemen and everybody who is congregated here. My few words are inspired by the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos, when he says, look back to the rock from where you were cut, and to the quarry from where you were hewn. I'm further inspired by one of the greatest philosophers in Greek antiquity, Socrates, when he says, an unexamined life is not worth living. So that is basically the thematic area that I would like to speak to. I met Mthuthuzeli 40 years ago at high school at St. John's College, an Anglican missionary school. I remember then Father Kota, who was succeeded by Father Nomlala during those days. Mthuthuzeli, when we first met, I was attracted to the surname Zepe because something struck me with the surname Zepe, because I remembered that we once lived with the Zepes in Pretoria in 1977 and 1978. So that reminds kakuhle umama uNomihla nomyeni wakhe uPV Zepe. So when he said he was a Zepe, then everything could resonate. Of course, he was a junior to me at the time, so I'm his friend, but also the umkhulwa wakhe, Mthuthuzeli. He was always a vibrant young fellow, ukupapa ebengewonto intsha kuye. He was part of a fan club that was referred to as the Michael Jackson fan club. They used to wear those Michael Jackson jackets, ridiculously spin around and dance like Michael Jackson. So that was Nkala for you. Very vibrant, very free-spirited. And of course, he also tried his luck at boxing. They beat him to a pulp. He stopped. Thereafter, he did a gentler thing of playing tennis. Well, I think he just registered his presence. He wasn't a good tennis player. Thereafter, to just gallop ahead, he went to UNITRA, as the obituary is paraphrased, went to UNIBO, and then when he was very despondent about furthering his tertiary education, especially after the Mangope regime had hounded students from the university, Mthutu was very, very despondent about furthering his studies. But unfortunately, I was at the SRC, at UWC, so I and my colleagues in the SRC, because we were already negotiating for a late registration of UNIBO students who were being hounded out by the Mangope regime. So I found him here in Queensdale. But Mthutu found him as a better lama police. Kage uze apa UWC. At least a UWC uzokhuseleka because it's a progressive institution. Unlike those historic black institutions where nothing but academic terrorism was taking place. So at UWC, under the tutelage of Professor J. Hevel, and of course, under the emeritus Archbishop Desmond Tutu, it was a fine institution for a black person to advance his or her academic pursuits. So he registered late, was accepted, but already his potential was spotted at UWC. He became a treasurer of what was called the Central House Committee. You might hear the operative word, Central House Committee, as if I was just talking about a House Committee. But the difference in that House Committee was that one, he had, with his collective, he had to negotiate with the campus control, university authorities, matrons, wardens, in order to ensure that students are safe on campus, especially activists. Because at that stage, the special branch was hovering around campus. So the likes of Mthutu had to ensure vigilantly that the lives of the students are safe or are made to be safe. One little incident also was that one morning when we woke up, we found a lot of pamphlets that were denigrating Archbishop Desmond Tutu at that time. And of course, they were launching an attack on liberation theology. But because of the likes of Mthutu, who woke up early vigilantly to go around campus with his collective, we were able to collect those pamphlets, get rid of them before they could poison the minds of our fellow students. And then to move further, Mthutu's characteristics, before I sit down, one, as we all know, free-spirited, he loved fun, he celebrated life, he was a good dancer. Some of us could just simply watch in awe and amazement, you know, we couldn't match that. Also, Mthutu was a very charming fellow, and he's unaba. Njengomkhulwa wabo koMthutu nabanye benbakhona manje banqwanqwatha apha ekhuleni kwabo njengoba usazi ke mlesi awunogada ungekho. So I just want to then say Mthutu was a wonderful personality. He loved his children. I just want to say to his children, Mthutu was a self-made person or a self-made man. He did not inherit farms from his grandfather or father. He did not inherit a chain of supermarkets. He was a man, a self-made person, which also means that bandana bakam Mthutu, there is nothing that prevents you from being self-made and actually chart your own future, your own life, and be inspired by the memory of your father. That is very, very important. And also, let me say now, the very, very last, that now the rhetorical question is, us as contemporaries of Mthuthu, what does Mthuthu leave us with? What do we keep in our memories, right? In remembrance of Mthuthu. It's just one little thing as contemporary parents, who now most of them are over 50, is that let us protect our children from ourselves. Let us once again teach them to be better human beings. One, let us still remind them that it is virtuous to work hard. It is virtuous to be meritorious. It is still virtuous to be ethical. It is still virtuous to be moral. It is virtuous still to be good citizens of the country, because if I'm involved in illicit activities and draw my family, I normalize corruption at home and then normalize it beyond the homestead. So the most important thing then is that because Mthuthu was a transformer, if we want to transform society like Mthuthu, let us first transform home, the home front, and then we can transform the nation. Thank you very much.
Dalivula, nabakhapileyo, Dean, Smego, no Bishop, Moses, kunye nepule family, Zepe family, as well as the Mthuthuzeli family, siyabulisa, and everybody in the audience. So the mayor basically representing friends Mthuthuzeli, basically in the Krisali district. It's a very emotional moment for me because literally 21 years ago, Umtura was best man in this church in my wedding, and he spoke as a friend. So namhlanje I'm here, I'm speaking his funeral as a friend, so it's not quite easy. So Umtura sidibene naye as common friends, I think in the 90s. So efika bazowenza articles, as it has been said. Now, sasebancinci we're in our 20s, we're single, we're young, and we had lots and lots of fun, Mthuthuzeli. But obviously, there were also sad times. I mean, like losing people. I can think of Uzubotini, for instance, that we lost. So those were the sad moments. But I think the one thing I would say, even in those days, Mthuthuzeli was a connector to all of us. So he connected a lot of us through him. And what carried us forward was the fact that we respected each other. And there was a genuine care with each other as friends, so which was quite important. So let me, as if friends come to it's quite difficult for us, because how do we reconcile ourselves with the fact that Mthuthuzeli is never going to be part of us after 25 years? So how do you reconcile ourselves to the fact that Mthuthuzeli will never see him physically? It's quite difficult. I mean, we don't know how to deal with it. We hope to find a way. So briefly, I've got basically, I think there's just 3 themes I want to share about Mthuthuzeli. I know it's a pleasure. The first one is passion. Mthuthuzeli really believed that you had to live life to the fullest. So if you listen, yonke into ebeyenza up to the almost 100% passion. Whether umsebenzi, whether it's fun, whether it's family, whether it's politics, you can see that. The one example I'll share with you, for instance, SSA University. So I go to Ngqamakwe, I figure down in Ngqamakwe town, so you have to wait for a bus, because the bus is until we are Now, I have a guy, or Peter Tosh, in a jail store. So Mthuthuzeli put his bag down and he dances and to the songs, and needless to say, the bus left him. But that was Mthuthuzeli doing everything. But I think the point about it is the fact that Mthuthuzeli believed that even in the most extreme, risky situations, he will always take a risk to create life-fulfilling moments. That was the character of Mthuthuzeli, a fearless and a great leader. So a second one, Mthuthuzeli was a deep thinker. So Mthuthuzeli was a mentor. He was a father to many. He was a sanctuary. You know, I'm Umtuns, whatever means. Now, I'll remember one time, so I think Prado, I think I was in my 40s. And you know, he said something very fundamental to me, I've never forgotten. I always said that to him. To where, why don't you say, it's very easy to achieve things, to create success, because you are sevenza of money credit, and you can buy nice cars, you can buy nice houses. The biggest challenge in life is to maintain that success and to make sure it doesn't fall. So the message he left me with at that time was the fact that when you climb your success, make sure you do it slowly so that you can maintain that success. Now, talking about the Prado, just a brief thing. Utewakele Prado, I remember one time he had a tire puncture for the first time in his new car. Mthuthuzeli circulated that car more than 10 times. He couldn't see the spare wheel. Angenena ngaphansi, and eventually at last he saw that there was this thing at the back of the car. And he opened this thing, there was a spare wheel, you know. So that was him. The last thing I want to share, a theme about Mthuthuzeli, is this thing of being helping others. You know, I think it's been said quite a lot to Levik. Now, him sponsoring many lawyers in terms of their careers and setting up practices. Banis, Balapo, Dali, and many of them. The one example I also want to just share, it's what a friend of mine shared with me this week. Mthuthuzeli, there was a young girl from Mlungis. She had passed matric, accepted UJ, and Mali. And this friend approached Mthuthuzeli to say, Mtura, ukolomdala ndakana mali, we accept him. Mtura paid for that lady. She finished a degree, and now she's working in a company in Johannesburg. And to top it all, Mthuthuzeli has never seen this person face to face. So the point is, he never did that to get any kind of fame. He didn't call journalists from the rep to put his face there. He just did it. So that was him. So in closing, I think Penny, to the family Penny, to you and the kids, as it has been said, Siyazba, this moment is quite tough. It's a major change in your life. And the Funogoti, so will always be there. To Onkala, non-Twetu family, Siyabulela, and we know Uguti Umtura has always been there for you. The last one, I think to Brasiril, I really want to commend you, Brasiril. Umtura, to you and Mama Sarah, really, you accepted him and you treated him as your son. We've seen this many times, you've been here. We've seen it in your house in Johannesburg. When Umtura was sick, you had just recovered from COVID, and you took a bus and you rode the whole evening to get to Queenstown. I used to go there, you know, but you just were there. So thank you for that. Siyabulela Mthuthuzeli, siyakhula mhlobo wami, and we want to say to you, we miss you already. You are one of a special kind. There'll never be one like you. Siyabulela inkosi.
There's so much that can be said, but we have run out of our time. And I want to say thank you to all of you for this time, for all of our speakers. And last but not least, to close for us with a word of thanks, Mr. Mthuthuzeli Zepe.
Njikalanga sesigqabagqabhisa ixesha liphelile. Sombawo Dean nabefundisi ne-congregation nekwayari ecula kamnandi. Ndiyanibulisa nenkosi ndiyakhahlela. Nakuwe meya siyabulisa nakubazili. Andunimenshina nonke kodwa ke nonke niyafana kum. Kuba nonke ningabazili niphansi koba nizimonasi. Siyanibulisa nefamily zonke, ifamily yakwaPule, of which I've got irrespect enkulu ngabo. Kuba ngabantu abasizela umakoti ebehle nomthuthu. Ndizababulela, nibulisa bese nditshilo musi. Ndiyaleqa nami ndi under pressure. Ndiyanibulisa ngegama lomfeli wam, ndingumkhonzi kaloku andikwazi ungasho. Ngegama lomfeli wam onguYesu Kristu, nobuyayo ezolanda ibandla lakhe. Amen. Special thanks to Dr. Ndamase, Dr. Mahlasela, Dr. Chwaka, Dr. Chamcham, and other medical personnel. We might take things for granted. Bogqirha bafanele uba bawenze umsebenzi wabo, sibalibale ukuba acknowledge. Although sibazi uba they cannot stop death, kuba i-death funeka yenzekile, funeka yenzeke, what they can do is to postpone it, or rather delay it. Kufike lafika ixesha layo libe lifikile. Ndiyambulela no cousin wam ebene role enkulu phaa esibhedlela apha e-private ubenesa phaya esibane sinika i-feedback mosakuyiwe esibhedlela kuvisitwa regular. Iba zii-exceptional cases where you visit your person. Besinceda kakhulu nondwe. Nditsibe, I will also state some of Mtura's friends who have been sacrificing a lot of time, Mr. and Mrs. Tibakwana, Oprah Miles, Sispel, Mr. and Mrs. Kali, Mr. Mpambani Supai, Mr. Mantlane, and your brother, Udalgelo, the role you have played and contribution you have done so much is amazing. I lack words to explain it. You are more than brothers. Mthuthu ngonetwork kwakhe usikreatele ifamily. Siyabazi bangabantu bapha ekhaya nami xa ngixakwe yinto I don't hesitate to shout on their ears and they respond instantly. Ngase nihlale ningabantu akwethu. And when you have problems, nani challenges, because there are a lot of storms that come away along the way. So you indicate to us, because there's Mthuthu indlela ebenivelusha ngayo ebomini bakhe. Ndiyababulela nabantu basekhaya bethuna bakhona bakhoyo aphakathi kwethu. Abantu basentibane eMthwaku Ngqamakwa. Nangegalelo labo nayizolo, they've done a lot of work. Izolo besinemngcwabo obufana nalo ophansi ulingane nalo ekhayeni. Ichoir was there and nayo obe bekhangeleka be-few, but they make things live and safilisha noko si-comforted. The message beyenziwe Bishop yesterday, we have it in our mind. At least siyahilisha day by day. Ne prayers that you conduct at house, come to nibane nisivisitor. Zonke ezazinto zisenze sangabantu abamazi bomuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. I would be making a great mistake of omitting your support and contribution before and after the depart of Mthuthu. You took turns as a family yakwapule by visiting Umthura egula, as utata, as umama, bazi sisters kaphela. Bonke be contributor in assisting uba Umthuthu makaphile bezama uncedisa intombi yabo. That was so amazing during that moment. I also noted your word of wisdom, Tata Pule, when you were talking to Umthura, my brother, during that time. There's a lot that we have said, just like when you were standing here. I want to acknowledge and recognize and congratulate you as a person, because nyani ungumuntu wonderful. Nam ndakuqhela ngokungekho father-in-law to me. How you relate to us, how to relate to Mthuthu nomntana wakho. Uyeme kitchen la tata. Unemfundiso nje endingayaziyo exceptional. Uyakwazi eme kitchen apheke nawe usasipa kwakhe. Bayipheke serve breakfast kusasa. Uyabona sekuba kulikhaya nje linjalo. uPenny is from that background, abantu aba-generous, beyi-family. Basenzele izinto za-easy. And they have contributed a lot to the funeral. I wouldn't mention figures and money. A lot of things they have contributed to us. Niyamthanda umntana wenu. And nimqeqeshile umntana wenu. Zawuza kuloo ndima. I also want to register into kaSihle uPenny Zepe. Allow me to quote Proverbs 31, verse 10, of which some of us were familiar with that. But kine meaning when I relay it to uPenny. Oh yes, you are a woman of noble character. I'm referring to you, Penny. Worth more than rupees. You deserve a crown. Sometimes, ubeke andfonele enyembezana. By the time Mthuthu egula, I used to say to her, calm down, and also share some verses of which I think Bafana zamenza strong, and quote some verses like the one from John 16, verse 33. And Shumael and Tatna, we are going to calculate this. In the world, you will have tribulations, trials, and frustrations. God will conquer for you. Zizinto ebendla ngozithetha kuye xa ndisherisha kuye. Abanye ke shenthi amanye amadabi ndide nditsho ke ndithi amanye amadabi uza kulwela uThixo awuzuzulwela. Learn to pray and fast. You will conquer your enemies. Nditsho kuye ndithi be strong and vigilant. Ngamagama ebendla ngowathetha kuye xa ndimnika ukomelela kwi-challenges. Ndithi and you stick to your faith, cling on the rock of ages. Ayikho kenye i-rock of ages, Fundis, nawe Bishop. I also one time quoted, ndiyazazi uba is keeping ukatsho kumathi futhi I've kept those verses that you have quoted to me. Ndiyazifunda ndizinika amandla. So is how we relate to each other. I relate to her. Again, I'm quoted one time, no, Isaiah 41, verse 10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Surely I will help you with righteous hand. So, ngamazwi ke bendla kwabhekisa kuye ndithetha naye nabantwana. Kubantwana bakho otsinelo kunye nomihle nabanye. Thank you for your support, kids, for supporting your mom. I know you have been nursing Mthura, you have been assisting here and there in the house. So those things do not go unnoticed. Tiziqaphele, ndiyazibona, and izinto enhle kum. Ndiyakubulela Sihle kakhulu for keeping God's covenant, staying in the marriage till death do us apart. Akululanga, there are a lot of challenges. Asizuzimention apha, wonke umuntu osemtshatweni uyazi uba ngenye imini une-seasons. Kuba shushu kuyabanda kusebusika kusehlotyeni. Abanye abantu cannot stand for that. Kuthi kwabasebusika babaleke. But abanye they wait until it's spring and term and summer. Then izinto ayazi umuntu uzawujika. Nditshilo tata ndathi ndikubulele gqitha ngengqeqesho yakho wena nomama for upbringing kaPenny. uPenny bengumfazi, ungumfazi onesidima kwela khaya. Akho nto ayicekisayo, even engqamakho uyaya abhinqa enxibe amadakhi nentoni asebenze, ingabe ngathi ngumuntu osuke eNigeria okanye esuke eBushbuck Ridge. Esikumafana ezi zinto zonke kuye zi-strange. Befitha. Ndiyambulela nonkosikazi wam akhambule for her support. Sometimes first share it, sifikelwa zezi challenges. She would say to me, why not we go for fasting and pray for them? Even if we don't tell them, because mhlawumbi bona bazawuxaka uba thina sithi sawufasta the whole day singatyi. But nditsho ngamanye amaxesha ndimhlebe depends izawufasta for your family and for whatever nempilo kaMthura. Athi I'll join you but ndithi noba ungabreaka after 12 because andifuni ube ngathi ndiyamstrafa ngomfaka kule nkolo yam. But izinto ezinjalo ebesizenza kunye. I also thank you guys for every message of support, comforting and encouraging words. These have not gone unnoticed by the families, both sides, Zepe family and Pule family, as well as Mthuthuzeli family. Zonke ezo zinto sizinotisile and siyazithanda siyazibulela. Thank you so much Sombawo ngendimo ezidlalileyo nine congregation yakho besendishilo nasengqamakho you were there yesterday. Bekumandi iservice yamachechi mandi ndingumchechi. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank abantu bakwa Russell's funeral undertakers for their service. That was so much amazing. It was wonderful, the service I was provided, Leona. Okokugqibela andililibali igalelo lomzalikazi wethu ongumama uNomihla intombi yakwaMthwethu uZikhali. Ndithe nkosi ngemigudu yakhe nemfundiso zakhe abe uMthuthu usweleka ekule ndawo kuyo ebomini. Even myself kangasilahle ube ngumzali kuthi. Mhlawumbi omnye umuntu angasithatha kancinci into azezileyo. Zinkulu kuthi ingqeqesho asinike yona negalelo aligaleleyo ebomini bethu. Nabanye bayabulelwa bethuna ngegalelo labo. It takes a village to grow a child. Siyababulela esingakwaziyo ukuthetha ngabo sibamenshine one by one. Nazo zonke izipika bezithetha apha ndiyazibulela. Oomatshoba ndiyabona umatshoba ngayibhala incwadi ngoMthura. Qho kukho into ekhaya umatshoba will be there. Nasemngcwabeni katata nasemtshatweni kaMthura kuzo zonke ii-activities ezibakho kwelaa khaya. Hence ndithi some of i-friends umuntu utate wanetworker washerisha nabantu bazitshomi zakhe baphela bezii-brothers zethu. Nathi sikwazi uthetha nabo kwande okwakuzalana. Nam ndisibhaqa ndinoya kwamatshoba ndinoya kwaMantlane because Mantlane is one nayo of the families ezikwaziyo usincedisa kwelaa khaya. Nam bendingenokwazi within eli xesha lingaka uMthuthu ebhubhe Saturday zibe zonke izinto zikwazile ukwenzeka yesterday ngqamakho nalapha. Benokwazi ndindedwa, I wouldn't manage that because ke ebezabe ehleli phantsi lo engakwazi uhlenyuka usihle. So ndiyanibulela kakhulu uMantlane ngegalelo lenu. Nani milile nani rara ndiyanibulela bantakwethu. Ndiswele amazwi, I lack words and no expressa ngayo how I feel. Phela ke apho Bishop wami ixesha lisishiyile. May his soul rest in peace and rise in glory on the judgment day. Lala Mathundela, lala Mnabase, lala Tiane, lala Pungane, lala Hlobi. Yodibana nabanye bakowenu phambili phesheya kweYordani bakulindele. Ndiyayishiya indawo.
Thank you. Mine is to announce that after this we will hand over to Dean. Please, you would lead us out of this place. When we do leave here, towards the right, I believe it's 2 right turns, that will lead us to the hall. That's where food will be served. Let us close our eyes and pray. Lord, we thank you for Mthura's life and all the years that we, as many communities, have shared with him. We do lift him to you today in honor of the good, the memories, that we've experienced, that we have, the good that we saw, the love that we felt, that we feel for him. Please give us the strength to leave him in your care, in the knowledge of eternal life through Jesus Christ. Amen.